We are all made of little specks. Lesson 1, Hayley Roos.
Hi everyone, my name is Hayley Roos and I'm a fiber artist specializing in embroidery. I'm really inspired by figures, whether they be plants or people. And I've recently gotten into computer programming and making little short stories using it. My two biggest passions when it comes to school subjects are art, history, and science. So I'd like to combine the two so that you can get a better understanding and appreciation for both of them. I really think that it's important to learn about what we feel and what we see. And with that said, let's move on to what we can see. This lesson is intended for kids from 4th to 6th grade, but anyone can participate and enjoy it. It's got a really fun activity at the end that I think you guys will really like.
Part 1, Matter. Everything that takes up space and has a mass is made of matter. Mass is a measurement of how much matter is in something. Matter is made of particles too small to be seen. Humans are made of cells of all kinds, skin cells, brain cells, and others. Cells are made of little proteins and chemicals. Those chemicals and proteins are made of molecules, and molecules are made of atoms of different elements. There are things that are even smaller than atoms called quarks, but let's stick to atoms and molecules for now. According to Britannica Kids, quote, "A molecule is the smallest unit of a substance that has all the properties of that substance. For instance, a water molecule is the smallest unit that is still water. A water molecule can be divided into tiny parts called atoms. This produces 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom, but these atoms alone do not have the properties of water. It is only when you combine them they become water." End quote. Atoms are made of protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons are positively charged, neutrons have no charge either way, and electrons are negative. Protons and neutrons are in the center and will stick together, while electrons zip around super fast around them. Protons and electrons will balance the other out. The amount of protons in the center of an atom determines what the element is. Different elements like oxygen, mercury, and gold can join together to make a new molecule, or the same elements can join together to be more of the same. Oxygen and hydrogen are both gaseous at room temperature, but when two hydrogen and an oxygen pair up, they become liquid water at room temperature. H2O means 2 hydrogen, H, and 1 oxygen, O. Not everything is made up of 1 or 2 atoms. There are some molecules that have over 1,000 different atoms of all kinds. There are 118 elements that can mix and match to make everything we see, touch, and breathe, and scientists are working to find more that can exist outside of Earth. Atomic elements can join together and create really strong bonds that are hard to break. They do this by sharing electrons. While normally the amount of electrons and protons would balance the other out to not be positive or negatively charged, when they share the electrons, it can change the charge from neutral to positive or negative. Electrons like to be in pairs when they spin around the atom. If 2 atoms with unpaired electrons get close to each other, they may pair electrons up and create a bond together. The paired electrons hold the elements together. I recommend that you check out Brain Pop's video on atoms if you'd like to see it from a different point of view with a robot. Now, you may be thinking, how does this relate to art history? That question is about to be answered. Let's move on from what we see to what we feel. Part 2, Art. There was a movement way back in the 1880s and 1890s called Post-Impressionism. Post means after, so this is after Impressionism, which is another art movement. Post-Impressionism was an art movement following Impressionism, with many of the same artists skilled in Impressionism participating and leading the way. Post-Impressionist artists were unified not by style, but by using skills from Impressionism to go their own way and create something for themselves. They prioritized using feeling and expression over accuracy of painting what they see. Many of the things seen throughout the movement are visible brushstrokes, wild colors, and the use of symbolism. Their styles were varied, but there is one sub-style within Post-Impressionism that we are going to talk about today: pointillism. Using small dots of single colors, the painter uses the tip of the paintbrush to make works of art showing the ways light hit certain objects' depth. It may appear a little fuzzy and evenly blended from a medium distance, but up close it's possible to see all the separate dots that make up the paintings. Georges Seurat was one of the biggest stars of pointillism. He could create a level of light that was otherwise impossible by using his mastery of chromoluminarism. Chromoluminarism is a practice of leaving white spaces on the canvas between the dots. Chroma or chromo means color, lumina means light, and ism means practice. When you put it together, it's the practice of using color to show light. It's also called divisionism, which is much easier to say, and was its original name, but slowly the name changed over time. Among his most famous works is A Sunday Afternoon on the island of Grand Jatte. While the forms may look sort of flat and fake, the color leaps off the canvas much like you would expect on a bright summer afternoon. Here are selections of some of my favorite pointillism works. They all have different sized dots and different feelings, but they use many of the same techniques. Many of the artists even knew each other as friends or colleagues. Activity time! Today we are going to be using pointillism technique to model how matter makes up something we see. Now is the time to gather supplies shown on your screen. We're going to be using paper, erasable pencils, markers, or paint, and if you are using paint you'll also need paintbrushes or Q-tips and a cup of water to wash them off. Step 1 is to find something to paint and set it somewhere that you can see. If you don't have anything made of matter you want to paint, use your imagination to picture something physical. Step 2 is to lightly sketch out what you want to color using your erasable pencil. It's okay if this looks messy because we're going to be erasing it once we're done. Step 3 is to pick a large area of color and begin filling it in with dots from your marker, Q-tip, or the tip of your paintbrush. They don't have to be the smallest dots, but do your best not to make long strokes. Take your time filling it in. There isn't a rush. Once you have finished one area with color, move on to the next until each area has a single color filled in. Step 4. Once you've finished using a single color, pick an opposite color and a similar color to place alongside the main color. You don't want to use these colors more than the main color. A good ratio is 3 main color dots to 1 of each similar dots and 1 opposite dots. If you have trouble knowing which colors are opposite or similar, refer to this color wheel. Similar colors are next to the main color on the color wheel, and opposite colors are across from the color on the color wheel. Opposite colors are also called complementary colors, and similar colors are also called analogous colors. Here is a detail of what mine ends up looking like up close. Step 5 is to clean up. Throw away your Q-tips if you were using them, wash off your paintbrushes if you were using them, and recap your markers if you were using markers. Pour the dirty water out of the cup and use the paintbrush to wipe any excess paint out of it while running water on it. Use soap to wash the brushes and cup until the water runs clean through it. By the time you're done cleaning up the paint, the ink should be dry. If it isn't, set it in a sunny place until it does and move on to step 6. Step 6 is to gently erase your sketch from earlier. Use the eraser only on the areas with pencil lines and be completely sure that everything is dry or else you risk smudging all your hard work. Now that your art is done, you have successfully made a model of how matter is made of smaller particles that we cannot see.
Just to recap, we are made from molecules. Molecules are made of elements. Elements are the same thing as atoms, and atoms are made of protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons are positive, electrons are negative, and neutrons don't have a charge either way. Pointillism is a really old form of art that's where you use dots to make pictures and then our eyes mix the colors of the dots together to make something new. Pointillism is very old, but there are modern artists who do it today, and you are one of them. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns or ideas for what I should teach next, leave them in the comment section below. Thank you and goodbye.